I welcome everyone once again. Good afternoon. Today's session is going to be rather brief, not like last week, because the continuation of what we started last week, and then we just want to wrap this up before we move on to some other discussions. If you recall, last session we began with comments from me, noted that lockdown will lead to a sharp economic decline in Q2 2020. And a recession is very likely. I said that will probably start around Q3 2020. I also proceed that increase in consumer spending in Q4 may put the economy back on track, with the economy adjusting a few months after. That's in optimistic here, though. I'm also convinced that there will be a new normal. There will be a shift from the current brick and mortar system of doing things to the virtual space. Last week, we had 3 panelists. As you can see on the screen, we had Mr. Ogodre, Mr. Chuma, and Mrs. Yewande Shembore. We had a long discussions. Mr. Ogodre advised on, that we should avoid capex for now as businesses. He said it is wise to hold on to cash. He also said we should monitor things as they go on. He noted that asset prices are falling and are currently well below their intrinsic value, but we're not sure if this is the rock bottom yet. He also hinted that fixed income yields are currently very low. For example, treasury bills and bank deposits. He also they are low. He also advised that we hold on to cash and then look for opportunities. Currently, still with some very good yield, being an ideal investment considering the moment that we have right now. Like we already know, he mentioned the capital flight in the stock market and the very huge drop in that space. A lot of people are already diverting safety towards the dollar. Mr. Chuma also spoke on the role of innovation in pulling Nigeria out of the pandemic. He's also here today. Will be shedding some more light in that regard. He warned that an important ripple effect of this pandemic is a surge in mental health problems affecting workers' productivity. Organizations may need to invest in coaching for their staff. We are already thinking along that line as well, and there's a program that we're introducing, which we'll probably mention to you before the end of this program, to think positively in this period and sustain productivity. Mrs. Yewande Shembore, on her part, shared perspectives on the legal actions that businesses can take in this period to ensure that they actually, she noted that in terms of agreements at this time, and she suggested an immediate review of contractual obligations, identify the high impact risk so that you can mitigate exposure to risk and explore new relationships to fulfill these liabilities. Look for new vendors, delivery services, and then some new off-takers. She also advised individuals and firms servicing loans currently to initiate a moratorium with their lender for a stipulated time period to cover up and avoid complications. So that was that's like a summary of what we had last week. Today, what we have decided to do is just to spend a few minutes to look at some of the questions that we could not address during the last session. And we have captured some of those questions because some of the questions came on in the chat box. Some of the people were asking and wanted answers, but we decided for sake of time, we couldn't address all that. So we'll just look at some of them, address that, and then throw it open. Because we also realized that a lot of people were sharing their perspectives on the current situation. So we felt, I mean, there seemed to be a number of experts, even amongst the audience, who all of us can actually share from their wealth of knowledge, listen to them. So today we want to make it as brief as possible from our own end and then throw it open for discussions. So the topic remains the same, like I said, beyond COVID-19, the economic, the situation, the economic outlook for Nigerian businesses and what people should be doing. So we'll be looking forward to discussions, insights, perspectives from the audience today. So I'll just quickly go to some of the questions that were outstanding last week that we could not treat. Somebody said, it is getting more glaring that we may end up with a recession, considering very low level of activity occasioned by this pandemic. Any opinion on the worst case recovery time frame? Well, it's glaring that this crisis is like no other that any one of us has witnessed. There's so much uncertainty. It has been described as the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, according to IMF. I think I was going to an IMF blog recently and I saw that. With the unprecedented drop in oil prices, we also saw what happened yesterday. Situation is even more there. For a country like ours that rely about 70% of our revenues coming from that space, it's a very, very tough situation. Well, talking about worst case scenario, that cannot be precisely estimated, but we just need to brace up for a long haul. It's looking like this is going to take longer than we had envisaged, and as such, we can only say that people should brace up, take some of the clues that we have highlighted, and then ensure that we prepare for the worst and then plan for that accordingly. If the situation persists for long, it's important that we know that we need to sustain food distribution so that we do not go into another crisis. Some people are already talking about the fact that food crisis, hunger crisis may be an even more endangering issue in Nigeria than even the corona in itself. Okay, so another question that was outstanding last week: how do you see the effects of COVID-19 on agricultural dynamics, particularly production, packaging, and most importantly, distribution, considering the restriction of movement? Well, this is a very good question, and I see a very huge impact here. There are threats to humans and their livelihoods, and we actually foresee a food crisis, except adequate measures are put in place. I hope everyone can hear me. I can see some people saying that they cannot hear clearly, but you can check the setting your audio on your system so that you're sure that you can hear. Border closures, irregular opening of markets are already restricting accessibility to food supply. It's not only just the health crisis, we also may find ourselves in some major food crisis. And with the way it is going, restriction in movement should be such that it must not affect farmers. Their access to their farms should not be impeded. They should be able to continue to produce. They should be able to continue to get their products across to the markets. And the food processing organizations too. I'm aware that, of course, they are classified as essential services, and of course, they are still working. But we need to plan ahead and imagine what the requirements will be in the future, considering the low level of production and the low level of output. So we need to ensure that the populace stays strong, have food supply, so that we also have a productive populace. Last week also, somebody asked what edge options that we can embark on, we can deploy for huge users of Forex. Well, that's a very, very relevant question, even though we may say it's very straightforward. As you can see, as it happened yesterday, oil prices are currently at historical lows. It's just almost unbelievable. US oil prices have gone into the negative territory, and we've been seeing negative prices for spot and future markets. May prices are in the negatives. Some people, we know storage facilities are also responsible for this, and there's a likelihood of it bouncing back by June, thereabout. But even at then, it's unlikely to go beyond the $20 mark. When you compare that with our budget figure of $7 per barrel, definitely we're going to have some huge challenges. This implies that our revenue in 2020 is going to be grossly affected. The valuation of the naira is therefore not avoidable. So my suggestion is that businesses need to brace up for this, especially those making use of Forex. Options that are available include forwards. You can take options, you can take swaps, exchange your currencies. You can talk to your banks. You can have some other export companies, talk to them for some of these edge options. So these are some of the questions that were raised that we had actually addressed, that we're addressing today. Some of them I would push to Mr. Chuma before we throw the discussions open and have perspectives from the audience.